Tonight, the indomitable Phil Hellmuth seeks to reclaim his place in poker history by winning his 10th career gold bracelet and tying the mark just set by the great Johnny Chan.
I got to put up 24, 25 bracelets in my lifetime and say, come see if you can catch this, gentleman.
But to do so, he must survive this Omaha final table, stacked with a veritable murderer's row. Ivey, Cunningham, and Mr. Omaha, Robert Williamson.
With my ability in Pot-Limit Omaha, I'm going to be very, very dangerous today.
Nothing personal. I just want your chips.
No doubt Hellmuth has the talent, but can he keep his cool?
I get involved in the big hand with Phil. I hope he has to do this. Oh.
Nice. I hope someday to become the greatest poker player of all time.
Check your egos at the door. It's the World Series of Poker next.
I need that bracelet number 10.
Welcome to the final table of the $5,000 Pot-Limit Omaha event from the World Series of Poker, presented by Milwaukee's Best Light. An original field of 134 players has been whittled down to just 10, each looking to take home the $630,000 grand prize and the coveted gold bracelet.
Hello, everybody. With Norm and Chad, I'm Lon McCarran, and Norm, tonight's final table looks like a World Series Walk of Fame with Phil Ivey, Robert Williamson, and Alan Cunningham. But there's only one name on the marquee tonight that's chasing history, and that name is none other than Phil Hellmuth.
Hellmuth came into this year's World Series tied for most bracelets ever with Johnny Chan and Doyle Brunson. But Chan just won a record-breaking 10. Hellmuth now has a shot at his 10th. If he gets it, we're looking at history. If he doesn't, well, it's probably a grand exit worth watching.
So there is Phil Hellmuth. In addition to trying for his 10th bracelet, he's also looking to set a World Series record for most number of times finishing in the money. Alan Cunningham is here as well. What a fantastic World Series so far. His third final table. He already has one bracelet this year.
There's Robert Williamson III, his cheering gallery, wearing Mr. Omaha t-shirts. This is the 4th straight year he's made an Omaha final table at the World Series. And there's chip leader Phil Ivey, 28 years old, trying to become the youngest ever to 5 bracelets.
And what a lineup today, as we have alluded to. On the Levitra chip count, you see Phil Ivey is top dog. Phil Hellmuth has some work to do with 114,000 chips. And our short stack of the table is Surinder Sunar.
This table's got too many sharks, Lon, not enough water. Something's got to give.
There is our chip leader, Phil Ivey. On the Milwaukee's Best Light Pocket Cam, queen high and a handful of connectors, and he'll come out with 6,000 chips.
The first player knocked out today goes home with no cash. Only the top 9 will finish in the money.
And you're looking at Richard St. Peter. And he's got a couple of aces. You may not know the name Richard St. Peter, but you've been to his store probably. He started the Petco chain.
Raise the pot.
And he's going to raise it up to 27,000 with his pocket aces.
Remember, in Omaha, you can use 2 and must use only 2 of the cards in your hand to make your best poker hand with the community cards. And this is pot limit. You can only raise the size of the pot at any given time.
Any other restrictions you're going to put on our game today, Norman?
I'm going to buy a leash at Pepco if you don't treat me better.
Ivey pairs his jack, but still trails the aces of St. Peter. And Ivey comes out with 50,000 chips.
Ivey also has a straight draw. St. Peter also picked up a straight draw.
The ever-moving eyes of Phil Ivey.
Yep, I'm going to do it.
St. Peter says he's going to do it. He's going to move all in with the rest of his chips. It's 23,000 more.
Moves all in. All right. Play 3. Just gambling a little bit.
Phil Ivey says he wants to gamble now, getting a pair of jacks and a straight draw on the flop.
Just feel like gambling.
When doesn't he feel like gambling? He just beat Jean-Robert Ballant for 5,000 at Ms. Pac-Man and beat Phil Hellmuth for 100 grand on the golf course.
Turn card is a queen, and the gamble pays off. Ivey now with 2 pair. So St. Peter trails in this hand. If he goes out, then Phil Hellmuth would set the World Series record for number of cashes.
St. Peter on a flush draw or a 4, 5, or 6 would keep him alive.
And now the river card, 9 of clubs. Richard St. Peter comes up short. He will go out in 10th place and no money. That's a tough position. Phil Ivey wins the hand with 2 pair, queens and jacks.
And Phil Hellmuth now with his 49th cash. That breaks the mark he shared with Barry Johnston.
And the crowd here at the Rio Poker Room acknowledging that.
I like it when Phil's in a good mood, Lon. It fills my heart with joy.
And his family's in a good mood as well. That's his wife, Kathy, in between Phil's parents. So one more cash in the books for Phil Hellmuth, this one in Pot-Limit Omaha. 9 players left at this Pot-Limit Omaha final table. Everybody from this point on makes some money. Eddie Scharf has 2 World Series final tables and 2 bracelets to show for it.
The day after Claude Cohen won his bracelet in 1997, he got married here in Las Vegas, so that was a trip of mixed blessings for him.
Action on Alan Cunningham. He has a jack high and he's double suited with diamonds and clubs. Alan will call the big blind.
In an adventurous mood, playing those cards.
Over to our chip leader, Phil Ivey. Pair of 6s, also with a king in there.
And Ivey in the small blind, and he will call.
Action over to Hellmuth. And Phil checks his whole cards.
He is in the big blind, does not have to put any more into the pot if he wants to play.
Pair of 3s and double suited. And he will check his options. So 3 to the flop. And our flop comes out 7, 3, 10. Hellmuth with the lead. He's got a straight and flush draw and a set of 3s.
Usually you beware of bottom sets in Omaha. Almost invariably someone else will have a higher set or make a higher set. Ivey checks. So if you're going to play bottom set, you want to raise it up and see where you stand, hopefully push out other players. That's probably what Hellmuth is going to do right here.
And Phil will come out with 8,000, trying to rid the hand of any riffraff still around.
And Alan Cunningham this time is riffraff. He's just got a double belly buster straight draw.
Well, it's worthy of a call. 8,000. Phil Ivey decides no, not worth it with a straight draw, and he will fold. So Phil Hellmuth and Alan Cunningham to the turn. Not what Cunningham needed. He is now drawing dead.
Hellmuth makes his flush and will check. And Hellmuth now with the cash record in hand is now concentrating on getting back the more important record, all-time bracelets. He wants number 10.
Cunningham bets 25,000 into Hellmuth.
That's just a posture bet from Cunningham. He does not want a call from Phil.
But indeed, he does get it. Surely, you see the check mark next to Hellmuth's name. He's got the hand 1 if he doesn't fold. River card's a 10 of hearts. The highlighted cards above the players' names are the 2 they use to make their best hand. In this case, Hellmuth's got 3s full of 10s, a full house. He goes all in with 55,000 chips.
Cunningham missed his straight and folds. He couldn't have called Hellmuth here if the bet were a wooden nickel.
And Phil Hellmuth wins the pot and gets some much-needed chips from the richer Alan Cunningham.
Buddy, I had a set and a flush. I was calling you. I think I might have to pay off on the river.
Cunningham looks like he's all too familiar with the Hellmuth rap.
So Phil's still in the game with a chance to win his 10th bracelet. Back at the Rio in action at this Pot-Limit Omaha final table is already underway. Claude Cohen is all in, but leading with 2 pair. There is Cohen, who's got jacks and deuces. He's going up against the pocket aces owned by David Merman.
Merman can knock out Cohen with an ace, king, queen, 10, or 3, or court order for that matter, on the river.
2 of our 5 European residents going heads up to the river, and it's an ace! Merman gets a 3rd ace on the river to win the hand and knock out Cohen. So Claude Cohen will go away in 9th place.
Good luck, everybody.
He'll take home almost $53,000. But Merman wins the hand.
Merman says his hobbies are blackjack and sewing, you know, in case you want to knit a quilt while you're doubling down.
Oh, there's top pro Gus Hansen looking on.
What's up, Gus? How you doing? All that lovely money.
Oh, yeah. It's all yours, you know.
Carrot top, baby. That's I'll take the cheering on the top.
Well, as Hansen knows, it's hard to ignore the $630,000 in cash, but for Phil Hellmuth, it's all about getting that 10th gold bracelet on his wrist.
I want to be the best poker player of all time, and you have to do it by records, records, records.
And there it is. Hellmuth wins the championship. So Phil gets the money, the gold bracelet.
Winning bracelet number 10, of course, would just be monumental for me. That's like lifetime goal career stuff.
You might want to shut up, because I don't think you really want me to call.
At the start of this World Series, Phil was tied with Doyle Brunson and Johnny Chan with 9 career bracelets each.
Hi, Johnny. How you doing?
But Johnny just got his 10th in the $2,500 Pot-Limit Hold'em event.
That's 10, baby. That's 10.
Yeah, sure, I wanted to be the first to 10, but I mean, Johnny did it. Congratulations to him. Of course, I admit to being just a little jealous because I wanted to be the first guy to 10.
Here, I'll take this one, though. Let's go.
I always think big, and sometimes I do big.
The guy had called 10,000 before the flop. I couldn't put him on 10-8.
The last time Johnny got to 9, I caught him 2 or 3 days later. And now, this is the very next event. I have a chance. I'm just going to play great poker. Play great poker. Play great poker.
And where is Phil? Oh, there he is.
Whoops. That was close. No style points, but I made it.
Phil got back before his cards were mucked.
Don't look at me like that, Ivy. Don't look at me like that.
You're goofy. You know you're a goofball.
Yeah, you're a little goofy yourself.
When poker players converse, it's not exactly a Plato-Socrates encounter.
Robert Williamson, who's made an Omaha final table 4 years in a row. Pocket tens, also with ace-king. Over to Alan Cunningham. He's got ace-high connectors with a couple of diamonds.
Yeah, this game's all about possibilities. It's like the early stages of courtship. It always feels good.
Alan, you think you can throw the chips any further?
It just bothers him. He doesn't want to splash on the World Series of Poker logo.
That's a good point. Sometimes hard to see the chips.
Lost in there.
Both Williamson and Cunningham call the big blind. Over to Phil Ivey. Ivy's got king-jack suited in diamonds. And he reaches to...
Phil's a little showtime.
We got a bunch of comedians on stage here.
Action on Phil Hellmuth. Freshly back to the table. And he's got some good connectors. He's double suited. He's in the small blind, and he will call. And he'll make it 4 players in the pot to Eddie Sharp in the big blind.
He wasn't even going to play this tournament, but he got sunburned at the pool the day before and didn't want to go outside again.
So in the big blind, he checks his option.
Look at this. 5 bracelet winners going to the flop. I'll take the king of diamonds for $300, Alex.
The flop is 6, ace, 6. That gives Williamson and Cunningham aces up, but Williamson has the better kicker.
Williamson, a strong favorite to get the check mark based on the early precincts that are reporting line.
Hellmuth and Sharp check. Over to Williamson. He checks, as does Cunningham. Ivy checks. He's happy to see a free card. King of clubs. Robert Williamson improves now. He's got aces and kings.
And I don't like Phil Ivey's chances of winning this election at this point.
Check.
Boy, everybody checking. Have to be leery with the 2 6s on the board.
Yeah, everyone wary that somebody has a 6. Nobody has the 6.
Amazing. 5-handed, nobody's got a 6. Everybody checks around in the river. Robert Williamson now hits a full house on the river. And he earns a check mark. He can only lose by folding.
Phil Hellmuth made a flush.
And he comes out with 9,000 chips.
No reason not to believe he doesn't have the best hand the way this was played out.
Sharp got out of the way. Over to Robert Williamson, who says raise it. And he does raise it, 35,000 more.
Aces full.
Robert with a hammerlock on his hand. His wife on the right, Kate Williamson, loves to see this. On to Alan Cunningham now.
Now he has made 3 aces with top kicker, and he might believe he has the best hand right now.
Now, how can you get away from a hand like that?
I raise.
And Cunningham has announced he is going to raise it up. Williamson's got a strong hand. He loves to hear that. So Cunningham now raises it to 84,000. Ivy folds.
And Hellmuth, with second nut flush, figures someone might have a nut flush or even better.
Wow. I hope this isn't the cooler. 4 6s is the only hand I can't beat. Wow.
And Robert is going to call the re-raise from Cunningham, and Robert produces the winning full boat. So a great win of a nice pot for Robert Williamson, and Mrs. Omaha and the rest of the cheering section share the love. We saw Phil Locke finish second to Johnny Chan. The question was, could his girlfriend Jennifer Tilley do better? Well, in the women's event, it was a Hollywood ending as the Oscar-nominated actress and poker junkie bested 600 others to capture the ladies' bracelet.
Actually better than an Oscar.
Congratulations to Jennifer. As we look at our Toyota Player of the Year leaderboard, Jennifer Tilley is not on there, but 2 other women who are having great runs at this year's World Series are Cindy Violette and Jen Harmon. Phil Hellmuth now to act at our Pot-Limit Omaha final table. 8 players remain. Phil sorts through his cards deliberately, double suited with a pair of 5s.
Phil actually talked his wife Kathy into playing in the ladies' event this year, and Jennifer Tilley busted her out.
Mean of her. Phil raises it up to 20,000. Siggy Stockinger from Austria will fold. Action over to Phil Ivey. Phil, well, all we see from Phil is a king. And he will call from the big blind.
When it's Phil versus Phil, I'll take Ivey. Both are top-notch tournament players, but Ivey is also a terrific cash game player, and he's great in a variety of games other than Hold'em.
And here comes our flop. It's queen, a 10, a 7, a pair of 7s for Hellmuth, and a king for Phil Ivey. And Hellmuth comes out with 18,000 after Ivey checked.
There wasn't much in that flop for Hellmuth, but he's going to posit that he has something.
And Ivey's going to call with his mystery cards.
And Hellmuth can't like that.
So Phil Ivey, our chip leader at the table right now, with our turn card Ace of Spades. That does not help Hellmuth any. And our chip leader Phil Ivey will check. Phil Hellmuth again reaching for chips.
Hellmuth's a pretty tight player, and actually in Omaha, Lon, you don't bluff so much as you semi-bluff. You'll bet on a big draw, but he doesn't even have a draw here. He just has a pair of 7s.
35,000 chips back to Ivey.
Ivey probably has a pair. Maybe he's on a straight or flush draw if he's thinking of calling. He does.
Norman, if you're Phil Hellmuth, do you figure Ivey doesn't have a monster hand since no raises come your way?
For sure. Hellmuth is putting Ivey on a marginal hand, and he's trying to take him off it.
All right, so it's 6 of clubs on the river. No improvement for Hellmuth. Ivey checks, and so Hellmuth with just a pair of 7s now to act.
A pair of 7s with a bad kicker. He's fired at this pot a couple of times, and maybe he figures the only way to win it is to bluff at it again.
And indeed, he does fire 30,000. Ivey gives up the hand.
And Hellmuth quickly gathers in the chips before anybody from a CSI questions him.
So Hellmuth steals some much-needed chips from our chip leader, Phil Ivey. Hellmuth still at this table in search of bracelet number 10. His family looks on anxiously, and actually Phil gave away all of his World Series bracelets to family members except for his '89 main event bracelet.
Geez, all I ever get from Phil is a Valentine's Day card with one of his instructional DVDs enclosed.
You got a card? Robert Williamson looking at 2 pairs. He's got a choice, kings and 5s.
Remember, in Omaha, you play only 2 cards out of your hand. Robert knows that. I know you like to call him Jazzman Lon. The rest of the world calls him Mr. Omaha.
They will follow my lead soon enough. Action folds around the table to Phil Hellmuth. Once again, likes to give his cards plenty of camera time. Phil's got ace-king. He's got a couple of diamonds. He's got 1 queen. He's got a pair of queens.
Great starting hand. You like high pairs. You like cards that work together, that connect, that are suited. That's a great starting hand. Williamson's kings right now are the best of the 2 hands.
So Williamson and Hellmuth will go to the flop. And it comes out king, 7, queen. Wow! Set of kings for Williamson and second best set for Hellmuth.
And that's a dangerous spot for Phil Hellmuth right now.
Phil will be first to act, and he checks.
Hellmuth is slow playing his 3 queens. He's got to believe he's got the best hand.
This being Pot-Limit Omaha, you cannot just go all in at any time. You can only bet the size of the pot. Williamson goes for 60,000 on Hellmuth, who now moves all in.
All in.
This is our degree all-in moment. There was enough in the pot for Phil to move all in.
You got a set of kings? Wow, what a cooler.
Robert shows a set of kings.
3 queens?
Set of queens.
Yeah. And I had a king.
Wow.
Phil had great cards, but he's in bad shape.
He's virtually hopeless in this hand. And remember, this is Omaha. You can only use 2 cards in your hand, so neither player has a full house right now using that board.
Robert's the one who looks like he's sweating this one out, but he's got the lead and a huge advantage over Phil Hellmuth, who's in danger of being knocked out of this tournament. It's a 6 of diamonds and all but kills Hellmuth's chances.
Yeah, you got to feel for Hellmuth, Lon. When that flop hit, he had visions of doubling up and making a big step towards that record-tying 10th bracelet, but he is down to his last card. It has to be a queen, the only queen left in the deck, or he's gone.
River card. It's paint, but it's a jack. Robert Williamson earns the degree checkmark, winning the hand and knocking off Phil Hellmuth in the process. His quest for number 10 has ended here.
Stone cold cooler.
I have him covered. I have him covered.
8th place and $70,000 for Phil Hellmuth. Robert Williamson, Mr. Omaha, collects some more chips.
Buddy, I played all day long and got that cooler.
Hellmuth referring to the cooler, the one hand out there that could beat him.
Well, I mean, Come on, that's a cooler. Yeah, I got queen, queen, king, ace.
If they buy him an ice cream cone, he should feel better.
That's such bull. Queen, queen, king, ace I have, and it comes king, queen. He's got the case, 2 kings in the hole. He walked on water, that hand. I mean, it's just scary.
Ooh, I hope Robert's feet didn't get wet.
Well, he got a lot stronger after collecting Hellmuth's chips.
That's an unlucky situation as you'll ever see. I'm coming back again and again. I might win the main event because, you know, I'm just playing too good right now. And one of these times, it's not going to come up this way, so.
The All-In Moment is brought to you by New Degree for Men. With twice the protection you need, it won't let you down.
Back at the Rio in event number 27 of 42 at the World Series of Poker, Pot-Limit Omaha. The final table is led by Phil Ivey right now. Closely in second place is Robert Williamson. Surinder Sunar, just 30,000 chips. A lot of work to do.
Robert Williamson weighed 400 pounds just 3 years ago, Lon. He had gastric bypass surgery, and now he weighs 200. He says, I'm half the man I used to be.
Literally, indeed. He's got a pair of 8s and a couple of diamonds in the hole. Action on Alan Cunningham, who's got 2 diamonds and some high connectors.
Cunningham arguably having as good of a World Series this year as anybody here.
He also calls the big blind. Action on Phil Ivey. He's got ace-10 of spades. He will call the big blind, come into the pot, over to Eddie Scharf.
Eddie is in the small blind.
Pair of deuces. And he calls the big blind over to the big blind, Siggy Stockinger. Pair of queens, double suited.
He's got the best hand of the group of them, and he will check to the flop.
So 5 players once again to our flop. Stockinger's queens are best right now. The flop comes queen, deuce, 8. Stockinger with a set of queens.
Oh, Stockinger gets top set. Williamson has a set of 8s. Scharf with a set of 2s. Ivey with a nut flush draw. And Alan Cunningham forgot to pay his club dues.
Scharf checks, Stockinger checks. Over to Williamson with a set of 8s. As soon as he bets 30,000, Cunningham folds. Action on Phil Ivey. A lot of cards to check on deck. Ivey will make the call of the Williamson bet. Now Eddie Scharf.
Remember I told you should beware of having bottom set. He has bottom set.
Raise, all in.
He did not hear you. 139,000. All that Eddie Scharf had is in the pot now. Stockinger to act.
And he will go all in with top set.
Wow. 3 queens for Stockinger.
And now with middle set is Robert Williamson.
Biggest laydown in the tournament so far.
And he kicks in those 8s.
How much is it?
Great laydown.
Now Ivey. A lot of action to Ivey.
Wow.
Ivey's in the pot.
Holy moly. I folded 3. I folded, it must be the nut flush, Phil. I knew it. And I had a free 8s. Oh my gosh. 3 queens? Yes, I folded 3 8s too.
3 8s? Wow.
3 8s and a straight draw, Jack 9.
No flush.
The 8s are dead, Phil. You're gonna like that. I had 3 8s.
I mean, it's hard to fold at that point.
If I have your hand, Phil, I call too, but I can't call. I don't have a flush draw.
In Omaha, a drawing hand sometimes is just as good as a set.
I like this hand.
Those 2 guys look like they're waiting on Judgment Day. They're both all in.
Now, Ivey hasn't made the hand yet. He just has 4 spades to the flush with the turn card, and he wastes no time. 7 of spades. Ivey with the nut flush.
Oh, and now Ivey can knock out both of them if neither one improves on the river. Stockinger needs a queen or a 7 to stay alive. And Eddie Scharf needs the last deuce in the deck, or he's gone.
And now the river's a jack of clubs. Phil Ivey in the right place at the right time, collecting the remaining chips of 2 players that he knocks out. Eddie Scharf goes out in 7th place. Siggy Stockinger takes 6th place because he had more chips at the start of the hand. Robert Williamson could have been a 3rd victim there.
And that was a great laydown by Robert.
So we know Robert Williamson can play a great game of poker, but can he spell it? Well, we find out as we conclude the prop bets competition with a spelling bee in this edition of The Nuts. 4 of the biggest gamblers in the game came together for a prop bet showdown. After 3 events, Mike the Mouth Mattisau was disqualified.
Get away from me!
And we were down to 3.
I must win.
So here's the leaderboard after 3 events. Forrest and Williamson tied at the top. Whoever does better at the spelling bee will win it all.
Ever since the 5th grade, I've always wanted to do another spelling bee. To say it's a dream is putting it mildly. I want to win.
Both my parents were college English professors. If I could pull this spelling bee off, I would make my parents so proud.
I have a sister with a master's in English, and I've been speaking to her a lot on the phone lately.
Your word is donkey.
Right to business. D-O-N-K-E-Y, donkey.
Nailed it. The word is trips. Ante. All in. Bluff. Check raise. Correct.
Yes.
Your word will be broccoli. It's a vegetable.
B-R-O-C-A-L-I.
Both of your parents were college professors?
Yep.
You're incorrect. Your word is hypotenuse.
Hypotenuse. H-Y-P-O-T-N-U-S-E.
Incredibly, you're correct.
Oh my gosh.
Who didn't know that? Thank you.
Your word is luge.
Luge.
Think bobsled without the B.
L-O-U-G-E? Luge?
No O in there. Eric Lindgren.
U-G-E?
L-U-G-E. Eric Lindgren wins the spelling bee.
Oh,
So Eric Lindgren takes down the spelling bee, but Robert Williamson is your WSOP prop bet champion. It really was well earned by you. Congratulations.
I'll wear it proudly. I'll wear it proudly. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Professor Chad, Robert wins the event, but I can't believe he blew luge.
That's a tricky 4-letter word, a 5-letter word if you're Robert.
Robert will sit out this hand. Right now, there is Surinder Sunar, who started the day as a short stack. He is all in with ace high versus the double-suited king high of Alan Cunningham.
You call me with that hand?
You're the loosest player at the table.
That's right.
This was an odd call from Cunningham.
And now our flop, Jack 10-9. Cunningham flops a straight.
Oh, but Allen gets really lucky. I mean, he had really modest cards, and he's calling a guy who hadn't played a hand all day.
Surinder Sunar with his tournament life at stake, trailing in a big way to Cunningham. 7, too low for Sunar. He's only got one more chance at survival.
And the only card that will make him survive is a queen. It would give him a higher straight.
And the river's a king. Cunningham straight is good enough to eliminate Surinder Sunar. This member of the European Poker Hall of Fame will go away in 5th place.
I'm happy.
He'll win almost $123,000 for his efforts and improve 5 places from where he started. Alan Cunningham collects some more chips.
That was the only hand he played.
Yeah.
It'd be like he never left.
And then there were 4.
The World Series of Poker presented by Milwaukee's Best Light.
Welcome back to our $5,000 Pot-Limit Omaha Championship table. 4 players left. Phil Ivey has almost half the chips in play.
What was wrong with that leaderboard? Ivey, Williamson, Cunningham, and who?
Davud Merman in 3rd place. Phil Ivey with an ace-king and double-suited calls the big blind. Robert Williamson folds over to Alan Cunningham, who's the short stack at the table right now. Got a pair of queens, and he is double-suited as well, and he announces a raise.
Terrific starting hand.
He's put in a raise of $24,000. Merman will fold, and Ivey quickly makes the call.
These two 28-year-old great players who broke in at the same time have a great deal of respect for each other.
Cunningham with a slight advantage with a pair of queens. And the flop is 4-10, queen, all diamonds. Ivey flops a flush.
And a set of queens for Cunningham. What a monster flop for both of them. Cunningham will be first to act.
Cunningham comes out with 40,000. Action on Phil Ivey. He raises.
You gotta have a dime now.
And Cunningham makes the call and is all in.
Cunningham knew once Ivey bet that Ivey had flopped the flush, but he was short stacked, pot committed, and he has a lot of outs.
Phil Ivey with the advantage. A chance to knock off a very powerful Alan Cunningham.
Heck, you had a good starting hand? That's not fair.
Yeah. But I can't have a good starting hand?
Ivey has 4 bracelets. Cunningham's bid for his 4th bracelet will end right here unless he gets the board to pair, pure and simple.
And turn card is a 7, useless to Alan Cunningham.
I repeat, Cunningham needs the board to pair. The board must pair. He must see the board paired, or his day is over.
So chip leader Phil Ivey, I think, wants to avoid the board pairing to knock off Alan Cunningham. And now the river card is a king. It doesn't pair the board. Alan Cunningham is done.
Good luck.
Phil Ivey's flush takes the pot down and eliminates Alan Cunningham in 4th place.
For Cunningham, his 2nd 4th place finish of this World Series to go along with 1 1st place finish.
And on Alan's way out, he stops to strike a pose for his fans. And for Phil Ivey, well, his style of poker always seems to put him right in the middle of the action, and that's just where he likes it.
I get bored easily. I'm kind of an action junkie. I like to have something going on. When I found poker, it was a perfect match. Where's 19 at? I just love the unpredictability of it. You never know what you're going to get on any given day. If you make one bad decision at the poker table, it's a snowball effect. It could end up knocking you out of the tournament, or in my case, when I play live, it would cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you have to have a certain disregard for money. Of course, when you go home and you lose, $400,000 or $500,000, then you start to think, man, I just lost $400,000 or $500,000. What can I buy with this? I mean, if you start thinking that way, you're dead. I don't feel like what I'm doing is insane. I feel like I'm just gambling really high, and I think I have an advantage of what I'm doing. I guess I really got lucky that I found something I could beat because I like to gamble so much.
Phil Ivey is so dangerous at the poker table. Smart, disciplined, creative. About the only mistake he's made so far is getting married.
Ivey with a pair of jacks and a couple of clubs. 3 players left at this Pot-Limit Omaha Championship table. Robert Williamson has finished 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in World Series Omaha events over the last 3 years. He's got kings and 9s, but he can only play 2 of those.
Finally know that.
Over to...
Who is this guy?
David Merman. I told you that earlier.
Well, 2 things I know about this guy. 1, he hardly ever plays a hand, and 2, I just don't know about him.
Couple of diamonds scattered amongst his connectors. So Williamson's pocket kings lead this group, going to the flop. It comes out 7, 6, ace. Ivey with the advantage, flopping aces up.
Williamson has kings and a flush draw, and Merman has a pair of 7s and a straight draw.
Williamson checks. Merman checks also, over to Ivey. Phil Ivey is going to push the action. 40,000 chips with his aces and 6s.
The flush draw will allow Williamson to call here. If he didn't have that, he would probably drop the hand right now.
Merman on a draw, and he will fold. So we're down to heads up. Williamson and Ivey going to the turn. Phil Ivey with a slight advantage right now. Williamson with a pair of kings. As we go to the turn, turn is a 5 of clubs. Ivey increases his advantage.
Ivey now with a flush draw.
And Robert Williamson's going to bet the pot, 128,000 chips.
He's making an interesting stab at the pot right now.
Action on Phil Ivey, and he gives up the best hand. Not worth it for him to stay in.
I'd like to see that one.
It's big.
Not your hand, last card.
Phil wants to go rabbit hunting, and the would-be river card, well, Phil's hand would have held up, and if Merman stayed in, he would have had a full house.
I didn't want you to see the last time. I had spades too, though. I had king high spades with it, with the straight draw.
With the straight draw?
I had a straight already.
Oh. No, you didn't.
Straight original.
Why do they lie when they are mic'd and filmed? Because they're poker players.
Back at this Pot-Limit Omaha final table, picking up this hand on the river, David Merman is all in versus Phil Ivey. Ivey with the lead with a pair of 10s, but Merman with a lot of outs.
Merman has been content most of the day to watch other people knock each other about. And now he's in a situation where he's got to get some help.
I need a deuce. A 7, with a 4, with a 6.
Bring the cards in a little, please.
With a 5, Oh my God.
We said a lot of outs.
What about a pitcher?
No, picture is no more there. Deuce is there.
A deuce would be good. Merman needs a deuce or a 7 to make a straight, or he could also stay alive if he gets a 4, 5, or 6 on the river.
So the river card is a king of hearts. Ivey didn't need it, but he got a second pair and wins the pot, eliminating Davud Merman in third place, who will take home almost $193,000. Phil Ivey, our chip leader, just got stronger, and now we're heads up. Ivey and Robert Williamson.
I would have bet us 1-2. I would have put us in an exacta box.
So we've got Mr. Omaha versus perhaps the most feared opponent in the game for the bracelet.
Phil Ivey constantly keeps the pressure on. He's a really tough player.
Pot-Limit Omaha is probably Robert Williamson's best game. He's a very talented player.
I've been waiting for this opportunity again since last year, and I'll tell you right now, I get to put a bracelet on that wrist right there. That's the only thing that's going to make me feel better.
It's always nice to win a bracelet, plus the $600,000.
Almost $631,000 and a bracelet to our winner today. Two very strong players have survived a very powerful field.
Williamson, one of the few players in the world who would be favored heads up against Ivey in Omaha, but Ivey with a 5-1 chip lead, you can't like Robert's position.
Now to Robert Williamson. On the Milwaukee's Best Light Pocket Cam Ace High, a couple of clubs. He's only got 321,000 chips. He's going to raise it up to 60,000, Phil Ivey. Ivey has low connectors and a couple of clubs. Makes the call. Williamson with a slight advantage going to the flop. These two players tangle on the golf course as well, probably for about the same amount of money. The flop comes 6-8-4, two clubs each with a flush draw.
A lot of possibilities for both. Ivey, a pair of 4s, straight draw and a club draw. Williamson with a better club draw, and he has a straight draw.
Ivey first to act. Counts out 100,000 chips. And Robert Williamson, no delay in making the call.
Sure, this is a game in which you bet and call with your draws. You look to make your draws in Omaha.
Williamson does have the better drawing hand, despite Phil Ivey actually leading right now with a pair of 4s. And now the turn card, queen of clubs. Both players get a club flush, but Williamson's got the nut flush.
Williamson with the ace, and unfortunately for Phil Ivey, he's got the second nut flush, and he's going to bet it.
140,000. Robert Williamson calls and shows him the winning cards.
Come on, man.
Ivey can't believe it.
Yeah, and heads up, you can't believe that your opponent could have the one card that beat you with a better flush.
A meaningless 3 of clubs on the river, and Robert Williamson wins the hand. He took about 300,000 chips from Phil Ivey. Got a long way to go, but he's got to start somewhere.
As soon as you put the money in the pot, I knew I was dead.
And Robert Williamson feeling very much alive. Continuing heads up for this Pot-Limit Omaha bracelet, Phil Ivey, almost 1.4 million chips, has been the top dog at this final table all day long. Robert Williamson right now seeking his second bracelet in Omaha. Looks at his hole cards, Queen 10, double suited.
Can't tell you how badly Robert wants this bracelet. For Phil Ivey, well, he only showed up because his cash game was canceled.
Ivey with ace queen and a couple of spades. And it will be Ivey with the slight advantage going to the flop. It comes out queen, queen 6, trip queens for both, but Ivey's got the ace kicker.
Whew, this is one heck of a flop. 3 queens for both.
Phil Ivey to act, comes out with 25,000. That's not much.
And if you're rooting for Robert Williamson, someone needs to go in and rescue him right now.
It's only 25,000 chips to Robert, and he will make the call. Ivey with a 2-1 advantage going to the turn card. The turn's an 8 of hearts.
Nothing there to scare Phil Ivey. He knows his 3 queens with the ace kicker is probably good.
Ivey once again to act. And he pushes out a little more, 75,000 chips. And again, Williamson wastes no time in calling.
Both players looking to pair one of their hole cards to make a full house. Williamson has to pair one of his hole cards to win this hand.
So Robert Williamson with one more shot here on the river. It's an 8 of diamonds that seals the pot win for Ivey if he doesn't fold.
Some people get confused that don't know about Omaha right now. You might think there's a full house out there. There's not. Remember, you got to play 2 cards in your hand. So it's the 3 queens with an ace kicker for Ivey against the 3 queens with a 10 kicker for Williamson.
And Ivey pushing harder, 200,000 chips.
This will cripple Williamson if he calls.
And he looks like he will, and indeed he does make the call. And he just lost a huge pot to Phil Ivey.
I didn't think he'd bluff there. I don't know why I called. I had a worse queen.
Mr. Omaha right now feels more like, I don't know, Mr. Palookaville or something.
Oh, strangely quiet right now after that big win by Phil Ivey. Most of the crowd, of course, is related to Robert Williamson, I think, and certainly they're not cheering at this point. So Robert Williamson looking very stunned after losing so many chips to Phil Ivey.
And indeed, Robert's wife and sister Karen there on the left, seeming a bit downtrodden.
His second bracelet much further out of reach right now after that devastating last hand. Well, as low as Robert might feel right now, conversely, Phil Ivey is that much closer to his 5th World Series of Poker bracelet. And he looks at his hole cards, middling connectors with a couple of clubs. He will call the big blind. Robert Williamson got a pair of deuces and overstocked in clubs.
It's amazing Ivey can be approaching his 5th bracelet. He won 3 in 2002, but he doesn't play that many World Series tournaments.
Ivey with a slight advantage to the flop. It comes 4, 7, 8, and Ivey got a straight to the 8.
Oh, Ivey flops the nuts straight, and he just acts like he's waiting for the 11 o'clock news to come on.
Williamson first to act in a deep hole. He'll come out with 40,000 chips, and Ivey raises enough to put Williamson all in.
This is sickening.
Robert Williamson is stuck.
And he's close to running on empty here.
And indeed, he will call and go all in.
Gonna have to get lucky. Did you flop the nuts?
Yeah.
Robert sees it, and he knows he's gonna need running clubs or a full house in a hurry, or Phil Ivey will be our champion.
Flop the nuts.
This day started with Phil Hellmuth trying to get to a record-tying 10th bracelet, and now Phil Ivey, at the age of 28, can get halfway there with his 5th if this hand holds up.
Well, Robert seems resigned to a runner-up finish, but we still got the turn and river to go.
Gonna need a miracle.
We're hoping for it. Runner, runner.
How about 1 club, 1 time? Give a good sweat. Let's have a sweat.
So frustrating for Williamson. We saw him finish run-up last year against Chao Zhang, and now he's hanging by a thread.
How about a club? Give me a sweat. Just 1 sweat. Could be a blank on a river. Just give me a sweat.
Turn card is a 4. Go ahead and sweat, Robert.
Nope. 2
A
deuces.
little life.
2 deuces.
Or a 4. He has 2 deuces or 2 4s.
Or 2 4. I got 4 outs.
No 4.
Phil has a 4. I was thinking.
I got 2 outs.
Robert has 2 outs.
That's 2 more than I had to have. I told you I just wanted a sweat. Now I got a sweat. I got a 2 out.
Well, that's not really a sweat. It's more like a trickle.
Just a bit of one. Phil Ivey 1 card away from another bracelet.
Deuce of diamonds. I promise to play better if you give it to me.
River card is a 3. It does not play for Robert Williamson. He finishes second again. And Phil Ivey joins the likes of Stu Unger, Ted Forrest, and Chris Ferguson with 5 World Series bracelets.
You got a feel for Robert Williamson. He played terrific, but second best again. And Phil Ivey cementing his reputation as one of the world's top players and becoming the youngest player at age 28 to ever win 5 World Series bracelets.
But for Robert, he came close, but doesn't walk away with the jewelry.
Right now, my heart's like, it's not broken, but it's definitely a little ruptured.
Robert wasn't the only one to have his dreams crushed today. Early on, Phil Hellmuth sought to capture his 10th career bracelet and catch Johnny Chan atop the record books.
Buddy, I had a set and a flush.
But it was not meant to be.
Stone cold cooler.
The day belonged to the other Phil. Phil Ivey amassed an impressive chip lead and never looked back, marching his way through an all-star field and capturing his 5th gold bracelet.
Now, Johnny Chan won his 10th the other day. You stopped Phil Hellmuth from winning 10 today. You're halfway to 10. How high can you get?
I'm hoping to get to 30 eventually.
It may sound crazy, but at only 28 years old, Phil Ivey could make it happen. So long from the World Series of Poker.